the Geek and I podcast, part of the Geek News Now podcast network. Join us this week as John and Jeff speak to the organizer of the Retro Expo Collectors event, July 23rd and 24th at the Plano Event Center in Plano, Texas. For tickets and information, visit retroexpo.com. Use code MyFriend at checkout for 25% off your ticket purchase. And now, here's John and Jeff.
I'm sorry, Jason David Frank. I don't know why I would call
Frank.
him.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, he's the Green Ranger. Green Ranger guy. He's Saturday only, and he's looking like he's going to be pretty popular. Like he's the guy that everybody keeps, messaging us and saying, how much is his autograph and how long is he going to be there and what's his limit? So, okay.
Sounds exciting. It's been a while since I've been to a convention at the very least.
Yeah.
But
a couple of years it seems like.
And this is a is it just like retail people come with their stuff and they swap and sell and buy and stuff like that, or is it an actual show? I know it has a couple of guests, and we can delve into who's going to be there other than the Green Ranger, and but what is the actual expo? Is it just cool old stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's a big dealer's room. It's 35,000 square feet. So that's the kind of show I wanted to put on, and the guests are new for me. I've been doing these retro collectible shows, but this is the first show that I've done where we had some bigger media guests. So that's the autograph thing is really like a new component for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've done shows like that, but it's been a long time since I've done shows where we actually had paid guests and people signing autographs, stuff like that.
Now, what how did the company start? I know that there's an official name of the company, correct?
Behind Retro Expo?
Correct. Yes.
Well, it's my wife and I have a company called Heritage Event Company, and we've been putting on collectible events for like 10 or 11 years now, in states all around the Midwest, like Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Colorado, Utah, Louisiana, Kansas. But we more recently started doing toy and comic shows and more collectible, a little bit more retro or vintage toy and comic shows. And that's just been growing. And of course the collectible market is really growing, and I'm a collector, and that's what I like to do at shows. When I go to cons and stuff, I'm really going to go to the dealer's room. I'm not a big autograph collector.
Is this just an excuse to go shopping?
Yes. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to create the Chicago Toy Show, which is my favorite show in the world, down here in this neck of the woods.
So if you had to describe how did you get into collectibles? Was it just as a kid one day you bought something and a few years later you found it again and like, that's pretty neat that I still have that, and let me see what else I can add to this. Was there one thing that sparked this whole thing?
I think I just have the bug. I think some people are kind of, and maybe a lot of people are. I mean, maybe it's very common, because I do know that everybody seems to collect something. Rarely do you meet someone that just doesn't have a little collection of salt and pepper shakers or something. Mm-hmm. But, some people are worse than others. And I think at a young age, I started thinking about preserving or hanging on to some of my toys and things. So I think some of it is just a personality trait. So when I got out of college, um, I started buying again, in my early 20s, like going to flea markets and buying Star Wars action figures and stuff like that, and back issue comics. And it's just, I guess I had a little bitty break there from high school and college, and then, went back to the stuff I liked as a kid.
Right. Now, there's one thing in your personal collection that is your favorite. Do you have a favorite? You have a favorite collectible?
Well, stuff from the 70s and toys from the 70s are really kind of my thing, because that's really when I was playing with toys. I kept buying them almost as a collector into even like not junior high. I was still, because the Star Wars films were still coming out, and so I was still buying. I didn't outgrow them until the movies were over, and when the movies were over in '83, pretty soon after that, I switched to comic books, and I became like this hardcore geek, comic book geek. But I had been that way since I was in, I think, about sixth grade. I went to my first comic convention in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I was born and raised, a little show called Ocon in 1980. And I think Alan Dean Foster was the guest of honor. And Alan Dean Foster is, of course, a novelist who's written a bunch of novelizations of films like Alien. And I know he's written a Star Wars novel. I think the first Star Wars novel I think he wrote. So I had been into the comic books in that scene, and even, bought back issues as a kid, at, comic store. So I don't, for whatever reason, I gravitated to that world early on and just kind of hung on to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned Star Wars stuff. I have actually on my toy shelf over here, I found this. I moved from McKinney to Denison and was going through some boxes to just get rid of some junk. And I actually found this, and this was one of my favorite things ever. I don't have any of the die-cast figures. I think I remember having the Carbonite Han Solo.
Yeah. It's the Kenner Micro Collection. Not Micro Machines. It's a very similar concept. Micro Machines were big in the 90s, and the figures were plastic, but the Kenner Micro Collection, like that set you're holding in your hand, they had metal figures, painted metal figures, and they were heavy. I think there was a Death Star. I know they did some vehicles. I know they did a snow speeder in the micro collection, an X-Wing. Yeah, they did a Death Star playset. They did some more Bespin parts, like the set that has the window that Darth Vader, there's a switch and Darth Vader can kick Luke out the window.
Yeah.
And there's a Luke figure where he's kind of like standing there, kind of bent over, like, Darth Vader is like force pushing him out. And I'm trying to think of some of the other micro sets. I didn't have those as a kid. And what's weird is, there's some Hoth ones. There's a couple of Hoth micro play sets.
I have somewhere, and now that you mention that, I think I do have Han in Hoth gear, the little die-cast Han and Hoth gear. I have a little snow speeder, and I think it came with. I can't remember if it was actually the Hoth, or if it was just one of my wife's winter things that we pull out at Christmas time. But I do remember some kind of snow mound.
Yeah,
that came with the micro machines.
There's one that has like one of the Hoth ones is the ion cannon, I think, from that scene, where they're trying to escape and they shoot the Star Destroyers in orbit. I think one of them is an ion cannon, and I think one of them is the Wampa Cave. And there is a die-cast metal Wampa. He's
yes.
he's real heavy. He's probably the biggest figure they made.
I think that's what I had, because I remember the Wampa.
Yeah, and there's a figure of Luke hanging upside down that you can slide into a little bracket or whatever inside that. So very cool looking little setup, because they didn't make that a play set like that in the larger scale. They made that figure, they made the Wampa figure in that scale, but not like a Wampa Cave at that scale.
Yeah, that was, I wish, it's like I always tell, we did a Star Wars show on May the 4th, and we got into talking about our collectibles, and it always seems to, get me down when I think about all the Star Wars stuff that my dog got and buried in my backyard back home, that, the next people that moved into the house, they're putting in an in-ground pool, and all of a sudden there's the whole Kenner Star Wars line buried in the shallow end of the pool that they're pulling up with the excavator. It's because I had all that stuff, and I'd find my dog had gotten it and chewed off Leia's head, and now they're buried in the backyard somewhere.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the guests that are going to be at the show this week. We mentioned a Green Ranger. Anybody else appearing this weekend?
It's next weekend. It's Friday and Saturday, July 23 and 24. Like I said, it's the Friday evening is a VIP ticket entry, and it's more expensive, though. We do have a coupon that your listeners can get in on to save 25% off of that, and I think I sent you that file.
Yeah. We're going to put we'll put that in the show notes, and share it with everybody.
You can just put the code in there. But then Saturday is general admission, and we'll be open, like 9 to 4 on Saturday, the 23rd. Let's see, it's the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Jason David Frank is going to be Saturday only. He won't be there on VIP night on Friday, but all the other guests will be there both Friday and Saturday. And one of them is Amy Allen, who played a Jedi, the Twi'lek. Is that what they are? The blue girls with the
right? Yeah,
with the kind of horns. She's like a Twi'lek Jedi in both the last two of the prequels, like Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, I think, in the last two. And
she'll be there both days.
Yeah, she'll be there both days. And Amy's interesting because she actually started working on Star Wars as a special effects artist. And George Lucas actually saw her and I guess thought she was a good-looking chick or whatever, and cast her as this blue Jedi chick. And then Jet Lucas is going to be there both days, and Jet is, of course, George Lucas's adopted son, but he has a role in, let's see, what's his character's name? Padawan Zet Jakusa. So he's another prequel Star Wars character, and he's one of the Padawans, I think, that gets killed.
I think he was the guy on the bridge when Senator Organa, was it Bail Organa?
Okay.
Jimmy Smits. I think he was there when he was the guy who was protecting Jimmy Smits' character. Okay. I'm not certain.
He doesn't look like. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't look like a Padawan. So I didn't really look into that, but I guess he is a Jedi. Yeah, it's Jedi Padawan. So he probably still had his little lock of hair in the back.
Right.
Yeah. And then we also have John Morton, and John Morton is probably, to most Star Wars people, most recognizable as Dak, the gunner, the snowspeeder gunner that got killed in the battle with Luke. And I guess it's because he actually got FaceTime, because a lot of those guys, wore helmets or costumes or masks or whatever. And John actually got, some pretty good speaking lines and FaceTime, with the hero Luke. And then of course a death scene, dies a hero. But he also played Boba Fett. He was wearing the Fett costume on screen during the scene when I think Vader says no disintegrations or whatever. No, not that one. That was earlier. This one took place on Bespin. He's no good to me dead. That's what he said. Of course, that line was dubbed in, but he was wearing the Fett costume in that scene. I didn't know that, and so he's two of the 5 Fetts, and I didn't realize that John Morton had a Fett role until he agreed to do the show. And I started looking into him, and I was like, oh, I had no clue that he was also a Fett. I just assumed he was just the Dak character. But, other people, got to play multiple roles, as costumed characters, because you couldn't see their face. So they got to play, several different people. And another one of our guests is Dickie Beer. And Dickie played several different denizen, Jabba the Hutt denizens in the skiff scene in a mask. I think he was a Gamorrean guard, and he was definitely Boba Fett on the skiff doing stunt work, like during the scene when Luke chops his gun off. That's Dickie doing that stunt. And there was 2 different stuntmen in that scene too, aside from Dickie, but he was also a stunt coordinator in Hollywood and a stuntman. So he's done some pretty big films, like other Geek films. Like I know he did stunt work in like Superman 2, and films like that. So he's got at least 2 James Bond films he was a stuntman in. He was a stuntman in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think he fought Indy in the scene where the propeller is destroying the boat.
Oh, okay. On the
in Venice.
In Venice, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy in the zoot suit that was one of the protectors of the Grail. I think that character was supposed to be Arabic or Jewish or something. So that's Dickie wearing a wig and a fake mustache and fighting Harrison Ford.
Very cool, very cool. Now, I have some photos here that I grabbed off of the, I guess you're on Facebook.
Yeah,
and it's just some pretty cool photos of. I guess this is the stuff that is usually available at.
Yeah, those are some previous shows I've done. This show is called Retro Expo because I'm doing it in partnership with a friend here. But previously, I've done shows called Retromania shows in Dripping Springs, Texas, which is just outside of Austin, about 20 minutes west of Austin. And I did that one about a month ago. And then I did a show in New Braunfels, Texas, about a month earlier than that, another Retromania show. And no big media guests or anything, just all about the shopping, the merchandise. But the shows were incredibly well attended. They were crowded. People were just like we were discussing earlier. There hasn't been any cons for a couple years,
right?
So people, I guess, at least in Texas, are just dying to get out there and look for comic books and toys. And video games and VHS tapes and T-shirts. The toys are new and old. There's custom action figures. We've got guys coming to the show that do produce like awesome custom action figures, local guys. One guy from Oklahoma and one guy from Bells, Texas, who has Victory Comics, has a custom action figure studio in Bells. He's bringing his stuff. There you can see video games. There's lots of retro consoles, retro games, Nintendo, Atari, Sega, all kinds of stuff.
Now I have my very first home console. Doesn't work anymore, but it's one of those items that is cherished.
Yeah.
And everybody wants me to throw it away, but I just, it's kind of heavy. So let me see if I can grab it here. I know you've seen this before.
Oh, is that a Vectrex?
This is my Vectrex.
Yeah.
The very first video game that I ever had.
And it doesn't work anymore?
It lights up. It makes a buzzing sound, and I get a bright blue dot in the dead center of the screen. So I'm just wondering if maybe because I think it has a tube in it. It's an old tube.
Yeah.
And maybe the tube just wore out, but.
You don't see those real often. I mean, I have seen them at shows, but it's not as common. You don't see them very often. They're cool systems. Yeah. I'd like to have one.
I have that, and I think I have three games for it left. I used to have a lot more. Mindstorm, because that one was built into it. That was my favorite. That was like Asteroids.
Yeah,
and then it had those screen overlays that go on it. I have my Star Trek the Motion Picture with the overlay. And I think it's Berserk.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the overlay for that one.
Yeah, those are all of those vector-based games, so it makes sense. And that's what that is it looks like laser beams on the screen. It's like Tempest, and their first Star Wars game was that way.
Yeah,
Asteroids,
my favorite arcade game.
Yeah, Asteroids is probably the most famous vector-based game because I think everyone played Asteroids at one point or another.
Well, yeah, you had to put your quarters in somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. So, another thing that we see showing up at our shows, and it delights me to no end, is people bringing cool VHS tapes to sell. Not like crappy ones, not like the common stuff that you just see over and over and over, but like good horror titles from the 80s, like slasher stuff. The harder to find tapes. And that's the kind of show I've wanted, is like kind of a mixed collector show. Because I collect, if it's from my childhood or that era, I'm interested in it. If it's a coloring book or a pin back, T-shirt, even if I can't wear it, even if it's too small, from the 70s, I might want it, and I have stuff like that in my collection.
And I think it's pretty funny that nowadays everybody is going for that retro. That retro look,
Mm-hmm.
I have, and I think I saw a picture of this on one of your images. I have this from, this is I don't know if this is the widescreen. This must be the widescreen version of Return of the Jedi that was in a box set. But I also have, and I found this at Walmart, and it's a T-shirt, but it's made to look like.
Oh yeah. I like that. Yeah, you're right. Everybody's getting in on that retro look, but there's something that was, I don't know, especially old packaging. There's something that was just more fun and pure about old packaging, because if you pick up a Star Wars action figure today, they're doing a better job, especially with like the retro collection card backs and stuff, to give you a cool old school Star Wars vibe. But if you turn the card over on the back, it's like full of text.
Right.
It's like the whole entire back is just as much tiny, small text as they can possibly squeeze in that small amount of space. And it's just no fun. And it's today, all the legal jargon and warnings and things that you have to put on, modern packaging just kind of, drives me nuts. And there's something, I guess, it's just simpler and funner. It was more, and also old packaging had more traditional art, like painted art,
right?
Oil painting, and that's you hardly see it today. It's just no one, I don't know if they're not willing to pay for it, or they can't have enough control over it, or what.
Well, it's all corporate run and all mass produced.
Yeah.
And speaking of old packaging, it looks like we finally got him connected. Here is Jeff. Jeff having a little rough time logging in today, but he made it.
Hi, Jeff.
Good morning, Vietnam! Boston Space style.
Awesome.
Robot is to supply all data pertinent to this particular field.
Glad to join you guys.
Well, it's nice to finally get you connected correctly. I think that phone you were trying to log in on needs to go back to the warehouse.
Yeah, I got $1,000 phone, and it's 4K.
Oh, wow.
You guys are talking to me on a phone, laptop from the 2015.
So it's a retro PC.
The retro PC.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were open.
We were discussing a whole bunch of things that are going on at the show.
Scott, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Now this set here, this classic Star Trek set.
Oh yeah, up in the top left hand corner. Yeah,
that's something else that I had. That one day I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, and my son comes in with Scotty and says, "Look what I found in the garage." And then the other one comes in with everybody else.
Wait a minute, you hanging out with James Doohan?
Yeah,
they ripped open that whole box.
Just opened it up. Well, yeah, it's meant to be played with. It's a toy.
So he's hanging out with Scott and James Doohan?
So yeah, that was a cool piece that I had. Now Jeff collects. What is your newest fixation, Jeff?
Oh man, I don't know if you can see this because you got lag in time. Can you see this?
I can see. Oh, Galaxy.
Right. This is this is 1/4 scale Galaga.
Yeah.
Let me see if we can back it up. I'm gonna hear all. There you go. Thanks, John. Thanks for the big screen. Check this out. It's actually a place of real ROMs, and it's the actual. If you look behind it, it has the grips like back in the days because you had to transport it. It was really heavy, so you had to have the back ends to grip it, put on the dolly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they detailed this to the T
Yeah.
1/4 scale. So if you got 4 of these equal the size of the same one, I measured.
If you got 4 of these, is it mass produced?
Well, yeah, it stands the same size. It stands the same height.
Yeah.
It's 1/4 scale.
Just like Mini-Me. Oh, no, that's 1/8. That's 1/8 his size. That's right. I'm sorry.
You're thinking about this guy. He's 1/6 scale of the original. He's 6 foot tall.
That's pretty cool.
Now, Scott, if you had a holy grail of items of a collectible, what would your holy grail collectible be?
Programming data insufficient.
Insufficient.
You may need protection.
I have a lot of those things already. Like for a long time, the Kenner Alien, the big 18-inch Kenner Alien came out in 1979 and bombed as a toy. Getting one of those in like a box was, like my holy grail or whatever. But I found one. I mean, because I'm always looking. I'm collecting constantly. So eventually I hunted one down and got it for a price that I could afford. But yet remaining, I also collect a toy line called Shogun Warriors, which are all imported toys from Japan in the late 70s. Again, another 70s toy. They did a Godzilla, which is the most famous one, the most famous Shogun Warriors. The Godzilla, he sticks his tongue out when you click the lever in the back of his head. Everybody knows that one. And he pushes fist. There's a button you can launch his fist with it's spring loaded. I have all the big ones. I think there's 8 of the big ones, and I have all 8 of them. But they made a bunch of small ones too, and it's the small ones I've been chasing around trying to get all of those. So there's several pieces from the Shogun Warriors line that to have everything that they released is my goal. There's a few more pieces I need, and they're all like really expensive, of course.
Right. Yeah, let me show you this picture. Now you can tell this is probably 70s. You can tell that just from the carpet. Well, we know the carpet's from the 70s, but this is probably, I don't remember how old I was when I got this, but this is,
yeah.
Was that Mazinga?
Wow.
Yeah, that's Mazinga, and it's probably the 70s. It could be early 80s, and of course, is that your photo?
That is my living room carpet. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it looks like 70s decor to me. The colors, that furniture, but it could have been early 80s too.
Honestly, I swear there's this telephone on top of that stand, right?
There you can see the cord, right?
Yeah.
That's the old telephone cord.
I'm saying.
You had to have a long one too, so you could talk in the other room. When you wanted to have a conversation with your girlfriend, you had to have like because there was only one phone in my house. Mm-hmm. And we had this like super long cord. So if I wanted to talk to my girlfriend,
what, you're rich and had more than one phone?
Yeah. You had to take the long cord and stretch it all the way back to your bedroom. I'd say it barely fit inside my bedroom door, so I could just barely close the door and sit on this side of the door.
We had one of those wall hangers in the kitchen, and then we had one. We had one in the den downstairs on the lower level of the ranch. So we had to have 2 because nobody wanted to keep going upstairs to answer the phone. Not that anybody called you, back in those days. If you got a call back in the day, somebody was either dead or on their way for a visit. So, you either go into the closet and getting a suit or going to the kitchen and getting some snacks for when they get there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know how we coordinated anything without the cell phones back then. It's like, how did people even know when you were home to call you? Did they just call you over and over and over until they got you? I can't remember.
Well, have you?
That's right.
Oh, it's not ringing.
Yes, this is a 1940s phone.
You probably don't even have
down
a
to the phone
to go with it, do you?
Down to the phone number.
That is cool. It took forever to dial too.
That's like that.
Screw up one number.
That Chris Rock, scene from Lethal Weapon 4. With the old rotary phone where 5, 6. Oh, I screwed up. Start again.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
Yeah, it was looking at all this, the pictures, it just I can't wait to go to the show, honestly, because it is going to be like a walk down memory lane.
Yes, for sure.
Of what I watched and, my life growing up. Like I watched Masters of the Universe, I watched that cartoon every day. Now, I don't know if we're allowed to call, this is, I guess, just Boba Fett's ship now. We can't.
Oh, man. I forgot about that.
We can't call it that anymore.
Still 21, man. Screw Disney.
I forgot. Yeah. Those probably went up in value right there.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
that was at my last show, that piece.
You have to remember, though, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when, Robot Chicken started making fun of that. And that's when, what was his name? Oh, God. Drawing a blank who played them. But he said, I'm not keen on that name.
Keen on that name.
Oh, yeah, Lando. Lando.
Yeah,
Lando's like, I really don't think I... Yeah.
If you put in the clip, it'd be way cooler.
I don't know. Are we allowed to play that clip? We'll get canceled.
Yes, you are. Because it's, from the days.
These things are really neat. What
are the monster stuff?
These are the original Universal monsters, correct?
Well, the ones on top, some of them are those Telco monsters that would come out at Halloween, like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and into the 90s. You could still get these guys. All the classic monsters. And they had just a little button, that you'd push, and the monster would do a little dance, and it plays a song. And then the ones on the bottom are, I think,
that's the rare ones.
I think those are Gentle Giant or Hot Toys or something like that. Like they're more modern, but they're super expensive. Like that Frankenstein.
That's right. Well, see, the thing is that the re-genre of it, the reviving of the industry is making those more higher priced than the old school toys. Because I was over at, Dallas Vintage Toys, and they had the ones on top that you're talking about in the box.
Yeah, yeah.
Going for $100 a piece, and people are not touching them. All day long, guys downstairs, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're even more pricey. Those are original on the bottom there with the pink stickers. Those are original carded He-Man figures. No, they're not. I take it back. Those are the new lines. The ones with that are kind of
the retro.
So what are they going for?
Yeah, retro play. Yeah. Okay, those are the. I'm sorry. There are some vintage ones at this show, though.
And then behind it, we have a whole bunch of pops. Pops are big. I guess
pops
are big again.
We don't have as many pop dealers at our shows. We have some, but I was surprised at how many vintage toy guys we had bring stuff. I was just shocked because, before the pandemic hit, I felt like all the shows were just kind of getting overwhelmed with pops, like too many pops. Everybody had them, and they have like a big cage full of pops or whatever. And it was like, man, everybody's got these pops. And I don't have anything against them or anything, because I just don't knock people's collecting habits. It's whatever you're into. But they were taking over. And so when I put on the show, I assumed I was going to get inundated with pop dealers, but I didn't. I have, I think, an amount of pops that there's a selection of them there at the show, but it's not overrunning the show. It's just mixed in.
That's cool.
And there'll be pops at Retro Expo, but there's going to be a ton of vintage toys, a ton of comic books. We've got some record dealers coming to Retro Expo.
Nice.
Is different. I hope they do well, because we'd love to have them, keep coming back, because I collect records.
Yeah.
So we wanted to bring in, all kinds of just, cool pop culture related collectible dealers. The 90s Star Wars stuff, of course.
That was between films, right? When they.
Yeah. That was such a big deal when they came out. I think they came out they re-released the Kenner line of action figures in 94, or was it somewhere right in there, 94, 95? And
97 was a big boom.
It was an exciting time because Star Wars had been gone for like 10 years. It just disappeared. No one cared. And then the figures were back. And I was in my 20s, I guess, when those came out again. And I was putting on comic shows in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with a comic store friend, a friend of mine that owned a comic shop, and we were putting on an annual show. And when those came out, man, people, they were just as excited about them as we were as kids, I thought.
Now, was this the He-Man size figures where they all look like they were?
Well, they're not He-Man size, but they have big muscles. They're over sculpted. Yeah. And I think they were highly influenced by the Spawn figures at that time, because Spawn was like the hot new action figure at that time.
Mm-hmm. And that was the McFarlane,
yeah,
right?
McFarlane Spawn figures. Yeah, I think that they beefed them up to kind of compete with Spawn figures. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now, lunch boxes, those still big?
Oh yeah. And you can see there at the top, he's got some old school metal ones, and then into the 90s and 2000s, they went plastic. There's some late 80s ones too, because there's like Ghostbusters and other movies of that era plastic boxes as well. But it just depends on when you grew up and what one you carried as a kid. Like to a lot of people, the plastic ones mean more because that's what they had. But I had a metal one.
Yeah, I had the metal one growing up, and I actually found in a Goodwill a couple of years back, it had the thermos in it with the cup. It was the Apollo mission.
That's rare.
Yeah.
Ask me where it is now. I couldn't tell you.
No, I said that's rare.
Yeah, that's an old box.
Yeah, I remember. I
to get the thermos with everything is rare. That's super rare.
Yeah, it didn't have that little, the little clip that came over to hold the thermos in place. That I guess had broken off, but it had the thermos in it with the cup and the screw lid, and the metal box was pretty decent shape. Is
it a square or was it a dome?
The cup?
No, the box.
It was a square. It was a square one, like the Galactica.
Okay. Okay. Because the first kids' lunch boxes were actually dome shaped. They had a square bottom and a dome top, just like the old school lunch box you see a construction worker carrying. They used that same shape and design for kids' boxes, but then they painted Star Trek on it or Lost in Space. So some of those 60s sci-fi TV shows and the Western ones like Hopalong Cassidy were actually in a domed box. And then
the early 70s and beyond is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then in the early 70s, they went to the square, that top shelf looking one.
And then here's
VHS tape. Yeah,
I think I got every one of those.
Yeah, those are great because the widescreen original trilogy is fun because you can actually see the unedited, pre-episode 4 Star Wars.
And I think that's. I have the Ewok on the side.
That's the one you got, John.
That's the one I got. He's got 2 of them. I probably have 2 of them somewhere.
And he's using one as a doorstop.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on this shelf here. Like I said, I can't wait. I have that From Star Wars to Jedi. I know I got that.
Oh yeah, that's a great documentary too. It's a really good one. I think that one's on YouTube, but it's a good documentary.
Yeah.
Back in the days, you had to buy the box set just to watch it.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Now, just YouTube everything.
Look at that Silver Surfer back there. That I couldn't believe that guy had that. It was one of those Fantastic Four 2.
Can you zoom in, John? Can you zoom in on that?
I think
John, can you zoom in on the picture? No, that other one. There you go. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's going to be at the show?
It was at my last show, and it did sell, and it was expensive too. I can't remember what the guy
sold.
But it's one of it was a theater prop, like an expensive, theater prop that was sent out to promote Fantastic Four 2 when it, the movie that had Silver Surfer in it. And it was beautiful. I couldn't believe he had that thing. And that Spider-Man, of course, is another like movie theater, like promo prop piece. And that sold as well.
Wow. And I see Mickey on
being with the theater closed, that's going to be hard to come by these days. So I'm sure those props would be demand.
He brought like 4 or 5 of them. I guess some guy sold him his entire collection of them. And he brought them all to the show, and they all sold. And he said, "Well, I'm going to go back to the guy's house and see if he'll sell me more of them." So for Retro Expo, so I'm hoping he gets more from the guy. That's another realm of collecting. I don't do it, but I know I have friends that's what they collect now. They don't collect toys anymore. They collect these 6-foot figures. Different companies have made them. Like I think Gentle Giant has made some of just like, larger scale action figures essentially, but like Star Wars stormtroopers and all the different troopers. There's guys that collect just the life-size versions of those, which is very cool, but they're super expensive.
Yeah. Where are you going to?
Well, they're running about 8,000, if anything, to 9,000 to the ones I've seen. I did a video with Marvel, and that's crazy money, dude. Mm-hmm. And it's not Star Wars. That's just Marvel. Yeah. I'm like going.
This was you, Jeff, at when you saw that.
That's the best thing I ever saw.
But so the show opens on the 23rd of July. That's going to be a VIP early open for shopping, correct?
Yeah. And 4 to 7 p.m. on Friday, July 23rd is the VIP night. And then Saturday, July 24th is from 9 to 4 is our general admission.
And what do you have? What do you have coming up, and where after the Plano?
We're coming back to Plano. Let's see. Let me make sure I got that date correct here. All the info that I'm sharing with you guys is on our website, retroexpo.com. So it's real easy to find, retroexpo.com. We'll be back at the same Plano Event Center November 12th and 13th.
Okay. Anywhere else around the country, or is that the next show?
Let's see. My show after that, I'm doing one in, Missouri. And that one's September 11th and 12th of this year.
Okay.
In Springfield, Missouri. And then we'll be back here in July 2022 again in Plano. So we're going to do it twice a year at the Plano Event Center, Retro Expo.
Well,
I'll be there, man.
Jeff and I will both be there on the 24th. And we can't wait to meet you in person. We'll, I don't know, you hate to ask this, but I guess you have to. Are there any health requirements, or is it wide open?
No, everything just as it is in the state of Texas. Because it's a city-owned venue, they have to follow state guidelines, so they can't require anything.
Okay.
So you lick it, you own it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're just it's optional. It's up to you. The building can't enforce anything again as a city-owned entity. So,
right. The only reason I ask is because it's very rare nowadays you get to say, "I can't wait to meet you face to face," instead of mask. So.
Well, we did our first show in New Braunfels, Texas, about 2 months ago. The mask mandate had not been lifted in Texas, and so everyone had to wear masks, dealers and customers. And then the show we did in Dripping Springs, which is near Austin, they had dropped a mandate, and the facility didn't require them. And so we didn't wear masks, and people would come in with masks and they'd say, "Do we have to wear this?" And we'd say, "We're not wearing it. You don't have to wear it." And people just they didn't want to wear it. Now a few people did, but I understand if you're have health issues or concerns or whatever, then wear it, by all means, wear it.
Yep, I agree.
Wear a Wookiee mask, if you want to.
Well, I hope the show is a big success, and I can't wait to venture around the dealer's room and see what I'll tell my wife what I can buy.
I'm telling people, save your pennies. There's going to be good stuff there. I know. I have been holding my fire for some time now for this show, because I know so much good stuff is coming. Because at my last show, there was so much good stuff. And so in between these shows, I haven't been buying stuff from anyone else, because I'm like, my dealers are just going to bring just incredible stuff. And that's why people will want to go, like I said, the hardcores, like, the collectors that, don't roll into a toy show without a few $100s in their pockets. Trust me. They're coming to buy some stuff. That's what VIP night was all about. It's for the guys that they're just dying to get in there and get the stuff before anyone else. So I'm that way. That's why we made that early entry. It's more expensive, but it's something that the Chicago Toy Show is one of my favorites, and they do that. On setup day, they sell an expensive ticket to just the general public. If you want to come in here and pay $50, that's what they charge. You can, but you got to give us $50, and I pay it. because I want to get in there the day before all the crowds get in there and get the good stuff. So that's why we made that.
All right. Well, again, I can't wait to get down there and wander the aisles. Any last questions, Jeff, you have?
Looking forward hanging out with you, Scott. Man, I wish I could hang out with you the day before, because I know I'm like you. Might have to put a second mortgage on the home.
Yeah.
You got to build a room for Spider-Man and.
I understand. I'm right there with you. I've got the fever now, so I wish it was this weekend, but it is the weekend after. Got to wait one more week.
One more week to get the build up, and if we hopefully we run into you on Saturday, and we can do something live from the floor of the show.
Yeah.
Now there's a special giveaway, right? Did you guys talk about it yet?
The coupon we do have. Yes, I have a discount code, and it is my friend, all one word, my friend, and you have to buy the tickets at Retro Expo to get the 25% off. So use that my friend code. It's basically go to Retro Expo, go to the ticket page, click on the ticket that you want, go to the cart and type in my friend, all one word, and it's going to automatically take 25% off your price total at the bottom. So you'll see the discount before you check out.
All right. Excellent. Well, Scott, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to finally talk to you outside of email. I know you've had a busy couple of months setting up and getting ready to start life again. It feels like.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and Jeff, we look forward to seeing you next time on the Geek and I podcast, and we will catch you guys Saturday the 24th, July 24th, from the Plano Event Center right here in Plano, Texas. Come on down to Retro Expo and bring your cash, because you're going to want to leave with a whole bunch of stuff. So, Scott, thanks.
Don't forget to say hi to John and Jeff.
Yes, we'll be there. We'll be signing autographs too. You don't even have to pay for our autographs.
Free autographs, guys. All right. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So thanks, Scott, and we will talk to you in just over a week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
The Geek and I podcast, part of the Geek News Now podcast network.